Hi everybody, this is Sandy coming to you from Gardner, Massachusetts, and today I'm going to be preparing one of the meals from our next segment of classes that we have going on that start July 25th, and this one is our easy grilling class. The recipe I'm making today is pesto buttermilk chicken. It's super simple. I am going through all the steps as if I were preparing this for my freezer. However, we are going to have this for supper tonight. So I did still want to show you what I would be doing if I were having something different and this was going to be going into my freezer for a different date. So the recipe calls for 1 cup of buttermilk or 1 cup of 2% milk plus a tablespoon of lemon juice. I didn't have buttermilk on hand. I did have some milk, however. So here is my 1 cup of milk and a tablespoon of lemon juice. And I did this probably about 20 minutes ago, so it's a little chunky, which is what it's supposed to be. Calls for 1/3 of a cup of mayonnaise, 1/3 of a cup of grated Parmesan cheese, 2 tablespoons of our dried tomato garlic pesto mix. I have it upside down. I'll tell you why later. And it calls for a teaspoon of kosher or sea salt and 1½ to 1¾ pound of either skinless chicken thighs or boneless, of course it'd be boneless, and boneless chicken breast, which is what I have today. So all that you need to do to prepare this is to put all those ingredients into the bag with your chicken. So what I have done so far is I have already put my chicken into my bag. I have also labeled my bag as labeled it as pesto buttermilk chicken with today's date and a G for grilling, because that's how I'll be cooking this tonight. I had a large package of about 4 1/4, maybe almost 4½ pounds of chicken breast. So what I did was I used half of that package, and they were really enormous chicken breasts, so I cut them in half. So I have 4 pieces in here. So somebody's going to get leftovers in my family. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by putting my buttermilk into my bowl. You can do it in the bag, but I decided I really want to make sure that everything was incorporated before I add it to the chicken. And I felt that the easiest way for me to do that was to put it into a bowl and just to whisk it. So there went my chunky milk, which is pretty gross. And also 1/3 of a cup of mayonnaise. Any mayonnaise, whatever you have on hand. And I'm just using my spatula to make sure I get everything I can out of this measuring cup. And I did, except for a little bit that's still on the spoon, so I'm going to go ahead and scrape that off with my whisk. There we go. It calls for 1/3 of a cup of grated Parmesan, which I have in here. I'm going to give it a little shake. And I have a 1/3 of a cup measuring cup right here. I love these things. They flatten right out and take up no space at all in your drawer. So that's what I like to use. I think it's easier to go ahead and take the cover off. And that looks about right. There's 1/3 of a cup of cheese. And the last ingredient to go into this bowl is the 2 tablespoons of dried tomato pesto mix. Now I put it upside down. My upline actually gave me this tip, and it's a great tip to make sure you get everything incorporated instead of just pulling it out of the cabinet and going ahead and opening it and using it that way. You don't know if it's all mixed up. Everything might have floated down to the bottom, the heavier stuff like the garlic and everything. So I give it a good shake. Calls for 2 tablespoons. So those of you who've been with us for a while, you know that our caps equal 2 tablespoons. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that so I don't dirty another thing to wash. It smells really good. It's right here. And I'm pouring it in. Here we go. Now, I did say that was the last ingredient I was going to add, but if you remember, I did mention it called for some salt. I do not add extra salt to our food. I mean, everything that we eat very seldom has anything additional put onto it at the table, but I always have a salt and pepper shaker available if anybody wants to add anything to it. But for the most part, I don't add it unless I feel it's really necessary for the recipe, because we just don't eat a lot of salty food. Now this actually was a great idea, mixing it in this bowl, because everything, I can see very well that everything is all mixed in. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get up close and show you. This is the bowl. It's what it looks like inside. You can see some of the particles of the herb. Now I'm going to add it to my bag. That was the best way to do this. I have a little bit of the herb mix that stayed behind, so I'm just going to go ahead and give this a quick scrape with my spatula. Make sure everything gets in there. And it said that you could refrigerate it overnight, refrigerate it for 2 hours if you're going to have it the same day, or you could freeze it. Now, I did mention I'm going to have it tonight, and it has plenty of time to sit and hang out in the refrigerator and incorporate all this flavor. Go ahead and put that away. Everything is in here. As you can see, the chicken is completely covered. I'm still going to give it a little bit of a quick squeeze. And it's all done. It's all ready for my fridge. What I'll more than likely do is come back a little bit later and show you a picture of the finished product. But for now, I'm just going to get the air out of this and stick it in my fridge for a few hours. So I hope you'll join us again. If you're interested in knowing more about our online cooking classes, please drop me a line and I'll be happy to hook you up. Even if you just want to kind of hang out and see what it's all about, let me know because I'll need to add you to the group. So there you have it. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me.